The following episode contains personal commentary, opinions, and references to publicly available information regarding a public figure featured on a nationally televised reality show. All content is shared for the purposes of commentary, discussion, and public interest under the protections of the First Amendment and applicable fair use laws. No claims made in this episode are intended as factual assertions regarding guilt, criminal behavior, or mental health. Any legal records or allegations discussed are sourced from public databases or online platforms and are presented as is, without claims to definitive guilt or innocence. We do not claim access to privileged or confidential information, nor do we assert any unverified claims as fact. All views expressed reflect the personal opinions and interpretations of the hosts and guests. We respect the privacy, dignity, and safety of all individuals and explicitly denounce harassment, doxing, or any form of targeted online behavior. This content is produced and distributed by Jenny Blaze Media, LLC, and is intended strictly for entertainment, commentary, and informational purposes. It should not be interpreted as legal, financial, or professional advice of any kind. Any resemblance to real events, persons, or circumstances not explicitly discussed from public sources is purely coincidental. Hello, my beautiful Salt Lake loving Bravo and Blaze fam. Welcome to an exclusive episode where we go way beyond the Bravo edit and shine a light on what's really going on. I'm your host, Jenny Blaze, serving the receipts, the shade, and the smoke. Today's episode is not a recap, not a rant, and certainly not a personal attack. It's a breakdown of publicly available information and personal experiences involving a public figure on a nationally televised reality show. We're discussing content that's been shared online, some of it directly by the subject herself, and our responses as viewers and commentators. Now, if you've been watching season 5 of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you've met Bronwyn Newport, and you've seen that she's made quite the impression. Personally, I tried to like her. I really did, despite the little inner witchy feeling that something was off. It started with a tweet to her husband, Todd. I manifested violence after that intense moment at Angie K's anniversary party. Something about that just didn't sit right with me as a viewer, and I said so publicly. But that wasn't what set things off. What actually triggered her response came later, after I shared more detailed commentary about her online behavior and the way she was presenting herself to the Bravo audience throughout the season. On November 1st, 2024, after I posted a tweet sharing my opinion that Bronwyn might be a fraud based on how she presented herself on the show, she began watching my Instagram stories and tweets closely. That same day, she sent me a DM on Instagram. The message demanded that I apologize, not for lying, but for expressing my opinion about her public persona. That interaction was alarming. I wasn't tagging her. I wasn't trying to provoke. I was simply live tweeting like I've done for years. But the DM, along with the sudden surge of bot accounts attacking me, made it clear that she was not just watching, she was reacting. Let that sink in. A real housewife monitoring my content, replying to one of my tweets that she was clearly watching, and then sharing a bizarre, belligerent DM she sent me, full of false claims. She posted it publicly, portraying herself as the victim, and the response? A wave of harassment directed at me from faceless bot accounts and burners and unhinged people. Whether it was intentional or not, the result was the same. I was targeted and made to look like the problem, all for sharing my opinions about a reality show cast member. I addressed the situation at the time on YouTube and on a previous Patreon episode, and then made a choice to step back. I didn't continue engaging because the energy was toxic and frankly, it felt unsafe. I've experienced a lot in this space, but this was different. The pattern of behavior, both online and on the show, crossed a line that many of us recognized but struggled to name. Shortly after that, something interesting happened. People started coming to me privately with more context, more receipts, and a lot of very serious allegations. I want to be clear. Everything we're discussing today is either based on publicly available information or personal commentary. There have been online conversations about things like financial history, resume claims, and other inconsistencies, all of which are part of the public dialogue happening right now. We're not presenting anything today as definitive proof. We're simply reviewing what's already out there and talking about it from a viewer's perspective. I'm not a journalist. I'm not here to accuse, convict, or cancel anyone. I'm here to speak from my own experience and amplify someone who's done the real research, someone who's been putting the puzzle pieces together and documenting it all in real time. This conversation is about transparency, about reality, both the show and the one behind the scenes. So let's get into it. He's been silenced on Reddit, shadow banned, attacked by bot accounts, all in an attempt to hide the truth. But he's not backing down, and neither are we. He's not just a Bravo Twitter legend, not just a walking archive of housewife receipts, but an actual doctor. That's right. While most of us are out here diagnosing housewives with Google and our vibes, he's got the credentials. He's got a PhD in petty housewife drama, a medical degree in messy Twitter forensics, and is basically the Surgeon General of GorillaGate. Please welcome the brilliant, shady, and always on point, the BravoDerm.
Hey, Jenny, thanks for having me. We go back a long time, so it's nice to actually put my voice with your voice on the same camera. So
I know it's been a long time coming, and you and I have been deep in Salt Lake City since the beginning on Twitter. I remember like back before Jen Shaw even got arrested, you and I were talking about Salt Lake City. So
Yep.
we've been here. We have the digital footprint to prove that. But you know who doesn't? Is Bronwyn, the newbie.
Yeah, I think the way I would kind of explain Bronwyn from everything that I've seen on last season, then plus all of this stuff that's coming out, she is pathologically dishonest. And I think that is the best way of describing her. I don't necessarily want to go further than that, but it's very clear to me that she is pathologically dishonest.
Yes, I agree. It's actually like over things that don't matter too,
Correct.
which I find to
Correct.
be so strange.
Correct. And that's the weirdest, like the necklace controversy. She didn't need to bring that necklace onto the show, right?
Yeah.
When she was caught red-handed on live television, she didn't need to keep digging and digging and digging when it's there for everyone to observe. That was, I think, like the thread on the sweater that got pulled when she lied about the necklace. It opens up the floodgates for people to question other things that you say, things that don't make sense. And that's really what's happened.
Yeah. So let's hear, what did you find?
Do you want to start with the gorilla or the court stuff?
Let's start from, actually, let's hear your perception of Bronwyn before you even got into this. Like she started with season 5.
Yeah.
I don't know, was there a certain point in time when you were like, oh no, there's
You
something
know,
wrong with this
I,
woman?
I never liked her. And I could always like I get a weird vibe about people, and like I could tell there was something off about her. I think her mannerisms are very bizarre, and she has certain tells for when she's clearly like uncomfortable or not being honest. But I was kind of up and down with her all season. There were moments I thought she was funny. I do think she's an entertaining housewife, even like outside of all these lies that she tells. I think she is good on camera. I think she can be very funny. I think she's quick-witted. I never liked her, but I didn't mind her on the show. I'll put it that way. Her grammar drove me up a wall, but that's a me issue, not a Bronwyn issue for once. Yeah.
No, I noticed that too, and it drives me nuts too, because I'm like,
And also how
how do
she'll just
I?
throw in like big words out of sometimes she can't even pronounce them.
Yes,
And I think it fits in with this like very carefully curated persona that is not necessarily authentic.
I agree. So was it during season 5 that you started, like, how did you find out about Gorilla Gate?
So it was after the necklace lie. So when she got caught handed about lying about the necklace, I was honestly dumbfounded that she didn't just own up to the fact that she lied, right? She did it right on camera. She said, I'll have to show you, post on Instagram my jewelry afterwards. She never did. She later said on Watch What Happens Live, I never bought anything from them when she said she bought from that jeweler previously a smaller necklace and then, I don't know, the hoop earrings or something like that. So that was weird to me. And then I
Hmm.
noticed some of her posts in the past. There was something about this, like, I don't want to name the zoo because I don't want to involve them in this, but she kept posting on social media about how like she was the naming donor for, or posting about being the naming donor for this baby gorilla at this zoo. And so I looked back at one of those posts and something didn't make sense to me. So then just to do a little bit of digging around, because like there was something off about it. I went to their annual report on their website, and for the other naming donors for these animals, there were two other named, and there were like a pair of them. Their naming donors were listed using similar verbiage to the initial posts that the zoo had put out about them being naming donors. The zoo still, for this gorilla, had much of the same verbiage in their blurb in the annual report about it being a new member of the zoo, but her name was somehow missing. That didn't make sense to me. So I posted and I tagged her directly. I said, "Did you actually pay the zoo, or did you just take credit for paying the zoo and never pay them? Because there was a disconnect to me. Why are you not in the annual report?" And that's what kicked all of this off.
And so when you tagged her, she never responded, or did
Correct.
she respond?
She did not respond.
But did she take any action?
She did, because after I had posted about it publicly, she finally paid the zoo that donation. And then I think it was on her private, whatever. I don't know if she does like firewall posts or stories. I'm not really
I
huge into
think she
Instagram, to be
had,
honest.
yeah, I think she has a subscription on
Someone
Instagram.
posted on Reddit after that that she had, after I knew she'd paid the zoo in February 2025. Someone posted from her stories or whatever that she said she did it the year before that in 2024, which I knew was false. Salt Lake is a small city. If you are doing, in my opinion, shady things with nonprofits, people aren't going to be happy about that. And they
Mhm.
talk to their friends, they talk to people. So, like, I'm not going to explain how I know what happened, but it's a small town. People talk. And that's the kind of thing that I think, I don't know if she thinks she's too big to be called out on things. That's the kind of stuff that catches up with you. And I think where she got a little bit nervous is after I called her out on having lied about doing it last year. I posted that I knew the amount of the donation, I knew how she paid the donation, the method of payment, and in how many installments. And I think that's when she realized I'm not making stuff up. I know what I'm talking about. And I said, if I've mischaracterized any of this, please contact me. You're welcome to sue me.
And she never contacted you.
I've not been contacted by Bronwyn still hasn't blocked me on Twitter, which I find bizarre, to be honest. I think she's just incapable of taking a loss. And that is where a lot of these lies like come down to on the necklace, on the zoo. Like if she just stopped lying, admitted when she did something wrong, more and more wouldn't come out. But the problem is she can't do that. She has to spin her way out of these situations as best she can. She's not very good at it, but it invites more questions about her background, the things she claims. And that's where a lot of the court listings came up. They weren't very hard to find, to be honest.
Wow. So tell us, what did you find?
Yeah, there are five criminal charges. This has all been public information, and one civil suit. And I'll start with the dates. The first one was a forgery charge in Utah. The arrest date was 2/17/05, so February 17th, 2005. Again, I don't have a lot of the details because these have been either expunged, I suspect, for the earlier allegedly occurring events, and then more recently for the ones that we'll get into from 2021, that was sealed, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But what she, I think, probably didn't realize is that even though courts have to remove those things from their databases, there are all these websites that
Third
literally are
parties.
just scanning the internet for any
Mm-hmm.
publicly available data and
Mm-hmm.
posting it on their site. So
Mm-hmm.
Spokeo, for example, was where I found a lot of these charges, and it's a publicly available database. It does not have to align itself with the court listings because they're not held to the same standard of removing things that were either expunged or sealed. So if it's out there on the internet from a source that feeds into it, they're going to post it. And what's interesting is a lot of the stuff that's come out I've pieced together from multiple different similar sources to Spokeo, from different websites that do the same kind of thing. And then also, there are still like remnants of the prior cases being on official government websites. For example, webapps.sftc.org, which is online services for the Superior Court of California County of San Francisco. They still had a remnant that some random person on Reddit found about that confirmed essentially the dates and the charges for what ended up being charges for grand theft and identity theft in California that were filed in March 8th, 2021, which is not a long time ago. And then someone else had just Googled her name in quotation marks in a way that I replicated it. There are PDFs listing certain court dates. There were future court dates, but it also listed who her attorney was. So these people that are on Reddit trying to say this never happened, it happened. And
Yeah.
what I'm doing in revealing stuff that is public information, I'm not doing anything wrong in doing that. She's a
No.
public figure who's put
Yeah.
herself on a reality show. This is part of what you sign up for. And
Yeah.
she can deny it all she wants, but there's a preponderance of evidence to suggest everything that I've reported about her as far as her history of criminal charges and misdemeanor charges is that all happened. I don't necessarily know for most of those things the outcome of those proceedings, but she was charged with these things. And then you see a lot of people on Reddit who are like, who cares? I mean, I think it's weird if you don't care about potential patterned criminal activity, right? And then other ones are like, well, you don't know how that ended. It's more complicated than that. But regardless, it's not a normal thing to get charged with grand theft. It's not a normal thing to get charged with identity theft. It's not a
No.
normal thing to get charged with wrongful appropriation. That one, by the way, that
What
was
does that mean?
so it's when you like, I'm not a lawyer, so forgive me, but it's when you make use of something where it appears like you have ownership of that thing, but you don't. So it's like I don't. You can look it up. I'll send you some of the stuff
Yeah.
on, but it's kind of nuanced. It's like you're misusing someone else's property and making it seem like it's yours, is my understanding of that charge. So that was the second criminal charge that she faced. The first one was February 17th, 2005. I suspect when she was still at BYU for forgery. I don't know what the forgery charge was about. I don't know the outcome of that case. The second one, and I had assumed based on Spokio that these were the same offense, but another website showed that the second Utah charge, which was unlisted on Spokio but listed on another website that was for wrongful appropriation, that was April 18th, 2005. So a couple months after the forgery arrest date, which was interesting to me because it seems like that was a busy time for her at age 19.
Oh my
But
God, this is giving me Karen Huger vibes. Like when the judge
it's
said the ink didn't even dry from
it's
the first
interesting.
one.
And that's
And
the one I can say she was the disposition on one of these entries for that wrongful appropriation charge was guilty. And then the amended disposition was listed as Class C misdemeanor. So to say she doesn't have any or didn't have any criminal history, I can tell you based on these publicly available sources, that's false. That's false. I don't know the outcomes of most of these cases. That one was listed on one of these sites. The next criminal charge came April 14th, 2010, when she was married to someone other than Todd, where she was listed as Bronwyn Allison Stringer. And that was in Contra Costa County, California, another criminal charge. And then the big ones, well, first, before I get to the big ones, there was also
these aren't the big ones.
these aren't the big ones.
Oh
No,
my
there
gosh.
was a civil suit that was filed against her by the State of California Employment Development Department. That's easily found on Trellis. That was on November 8th, 2011. And there was a summary judgment against Bronwyn for that one. And when you piece together the data that's on that Trellis entry, AI suggested she likely was collecting unemployment benefits she was not entitled to. So that was a summary judgment, meaning that she ended up having to pay. It's essentially saying you're responsible for this. And then the big one that was, I think, the most shocking thing to folks was the March 8th, 2021 charges that ended up in San Francisco County Superior Court dealing with 3 counts of grand theft felony charges and then one separate felony charge of identity theft. So I think that lays out the legal background of what I've been able to obtain pretty simply, to be honest, just by looking at online resources beyond just court websites. And again, those online databases are just scanning the internet for data points. They don't always provide a full picture of everything. So on Reddit, all these people were like, doesn't have her last name on there. Her birth date's not included. Wonderful. That doesn't change the fact that there's a charge number, there's a date of charges. It's one of these things where like I think people believe what they want to believe, and I'm very confident in reporting all of this because again, It's publicly available information. She's gone back after I started reporting this and had a lot of that data wiped from some of these. She hasn't found all of the sites she's on, but she removed her entries from Spokeo. She removed her entries from other websites that I've obtained information from after I posted about it. I think she doesn't realize that these websites continually sweep the internet. So she's going to have to keep doing that regularly because it'll get back
Oh
on
my
there.
God.
And I think that's probably one of the mistakes she made in kind of going on a show and thinking that you just because something is expunged or just because something is is sealed doesn't mean that people are not going to find out about it.
Yeah. And I wonder why they got expunged and sealed. Is
For a
that
lot
like
of
the
these things, I think it's
normal?
like if it's like a first time offense or like a misdemeanor offense, after, there's like a time limit on when like for non-repeat, even though it would appear she's been charged multiple times, like I think a
Yeah.
lot of them automatically get expunged after a while. But for the sealing of the 2021 charges, I have information on that, but I cannot disclose that publicly. And I will just say that she had a really good lawyer in that case, and I have the name of that lawyer if anyone would like to know about it.
Interesting.
And that lawyer specializes by her own accounting in white collar defense, white collar crime defense. And the lawyer's name, I can give it to you right now, is, let me take a look. I just want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. Julia Jane, who works in San Francisco. Last name Jane, Jayne. And the reason I know who the lawyer was, because on one of these remnants from a San Francisco court website, it listed her as her lawyer, and they had a scheduled court appearance for, let's see, to February 8th, 2022. So for the people, there's a person on Reddit who thinks she understands everything about the law and jewelry and Bronwyn. But if she's saying that it was just that person has said, oh, this was a crazy time in San Francisco, people were getting charged with things they had nothing to do with, it wouldn't drag on for almost at least a year to the point where you're hiring a very high profile defense attorney who specializes in white collar criminal defense. So I'll just leave it at that.
What year did she
Public
get
documents.
married?
She
Wait,
got married. I don't have it at the tip, either 16 or 17, I believe. I have it somewhere, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'm shocked that she has a criminal record after
Yeah,
marrying
yeah,
Todd.
yeah,
Because why? Why are you doing this? If you
correct,
have access to
correct.
money, why are you still stealing money?
Allegedly, right?
Allegedly.
I have some theories, but I'm gonna stay away from those theories. I think some people are programmed to in a way that they can't help, and I'll leave it
Yeah,
at that.
this seems very like
It's something. It's something.
compulsive. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm gonna have to,
It's something.
when I edit, I'm gonna have to make sure I'm very careful with
Yeah.
every single word.
Oh, because she's watching. She's watching.
I know.
Yep. Hi,
Well,
Bronwyn. Hi.
hi, Bronwyn.
It's great to speak to you.
She's obsessed. And that's why,
She's
like,
more chronically online than we are, by the way, is the weirdest part of it.
100%. And she seems like one of those people who's just obsessing over her image
Correct.
online. And if anyone challenges that, she
It's
doesn't
World
care.
War III. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She's a kindly philanthropist. She couldn't hurt a fly.
I'm not going to discount any of the philanthropy that Bronwyn has allegedly done out there,
Well, when
but
she
a
pays
lot of
them,
it
that's great.
feels, yeah, if
When
it's
she finally
true,
pays them, yeah,
yeah,
that's
when she
great.
pays them, but a lot of it feels performative.
And there are people, if you dig just Googling, people have questioned her purported philanthropic uh, history before, well before you or I knew each other.
Really? What are they
Yeah.
saying?
I'll send you some DMs later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so out of all the receipts you've posted, which
Mhm.
one do you think is the most shocking?
The 2021 charges for grand theft and identity theft, right? Because one, it's not that long ago.
Yeah,
Two, it likely
post
happened when
COVID.
she was already with Todd.
Yeah.
And three, she had that cryptic post on her Instagram, like the Q&A thing, where someone asked her for like financial advice, and she was talking about how like she doesn't look back on her time in finance like as a I'm paraphrasing, as a pleasant time, and she made mistakes and she held on to like she had chips on her shoulder or something like that, and she made mistakes for which she had to give restitution. Restitution is a weird word to use, and this was before these charges. So what I do wonder is if whatever happened, someone discovered something else that hadn't been dealt with, and that resulted in new charges. I don't know, but it's weird that she posted years ago about having made major mistakes working in finance, quote unquote, as an executive assistant. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but and she had to give restitution, and then later on, she's criminally charged with 3 felony counts of grand theft and 1 misdemeanor, or sorry, and 1 felony count of identity theft. It's it's odd to me. It's odd. So that I think
It's
is
really odd.
the most shocking, and it's also the most shocking that there are still remnants on actual government websites about it, which makes it very difficult for people to they've still tried, very difficult for people to say that this didn't happen, right? And they were the case number was the same one I'd reported the first time I mentioned it. The date was the same date I'd reported the first time I mentioned it. So, that's consistent on all these different sources. I
Yeah,
also think it matters too, because I'm not out here saying everyone who has a history of criminal charges or of criminal activity, if that's what happened, that they're bad people or that like
right.
that's the end of things. No, but generally, I would expect that people learn from their mistakes and grow as people. And if you are
Hmm.
still like, in my opinion, exploiting a nonprofit to make yourself look charitable when going on a reality show without paying them and without paying them until I've publicly called you out by asking, did you actually pay these people? And then lying about when you paid them. This is someone who has a complicated relationship with ethics. I would
Yes,
phrase it that way.
that is a good way to phrase it. Oh my gosh.
It's a
And
lot.
I mean, even like the fact that you tried to contact her to sort out the situation, like
Correct.
maybe I have the information wrong. Please
Correct.
correct me if I'm wrong. You gave her a chance,
All
but
I said,
instead of
yep,
responding, she went and tried to cover up her tracks.
yep.
I think that is beyond
Literally,
me.
I just said, can you just post a screenshot of the donation receipt that you get anytime you make a charitable donation of any significance? Never heard back. Still have never heard back on any of that. But I don't, I wouldn't put it past her to counterfeit something at this point, now that she's paid them, like, and change. But I'm not
Yeah.
saying she's done that, but like, I don't trust anything that comes out of her mouth at this point.
No.
But the fact that she's very quick to snap at people like she snapped at you, when she feels like her response, either she has receipts for something or that her response would be beneficial. So she like on Twitter, if you look at her replies, she got mad. Someone said she didn't own her house. And so she responded to that, right? She
Hmm.
never responded to me asking, did you actually pay this zoo that you're posting about while the show is airing for press? And the language that she used in like an October TikTok post about the gorilla was the most like damning weird thing, because she didn't say, a normal person would say, earlier this year, I got to name a baby gorilla at blank zoo after having donated blah, blah, blah. She said, I was given the opportunity to help donate, to help name a baby gorilla. That's legalese mumbo jumbo that would be true even if you didn't actually pay the zoo. And that's when I realized what she was.
What do you think her agenda is?
I think her agenda is Bronwyn.
Like, in what way? What does that mean?
I am not sure. But I think she is trying to, I don't know if she's trying to whitewash her past. I don't know what her end goal is. If she wants to be some sort of like red carpet commentator, or if she wants to be like a fashion darling, first get some better outfits. But it's bizarre to me that sounds like she has a pretty nice life, right? She married a really wealthy guy who seems to tolerate her. And
She doesn't even have to
she
see
could
him.
leave all, correct, she could leave all this alone, right? But she can't accept any criticism of
Yeah.
herself. And similar to like Monica Garcia, it's a very carefully crafted narrative because she'll try to get out ahead of the story if she like thinks it'll be beneficial. Like she mentioned the three nose jobs, right?
Yes.
That kind of thing. Or like when Todd said I had NSA run a background check on her. I doubt that happened. One, it sounds pretty illegal to do
It
that,
is
right?
illegal, I think.
And then two, there would be a lot of stuff that popped up in that
Yeah, he
background
must not
check,
have
right?
really done it
So I
because then he would
wonder
have
if
found
that,
stuff.
right. I wonder if that came up on the show to throw people off the trail. I wonder. I
Do you
also
think
wonder
Todd
if,
is aware of all this?
oh, yes, yes, yes. He's a smart guy. I think he is.
See, I feel like at first I was like, is he controlling her or is she
No, I
controlling
think Todd
him?
is a decent guy who is stuck with this.
I
Yeah, I
should,
don't know those details, but it's been on Reddit previously. There's that Reddit sub, the R backslash RHOSLC, where the moderators are very clearly, if not Bronwyn, her if she's not one herself, it's very clear they are tied
aid
to
or,
support correct
yeah,
because like
something.
critical commentary about Bronwyn gets deleted on there, like tepidly critical commentary about her gets deleted on there, but apparently that was on that subreddit and vanished. That reporting about what's been alleged happened while working in finance.
Yeah, I never liked Reddit anyways because I don't even know how it works, but
I don't like that random moderators with an agenda can like try to
yeah,
like
that's weird.
squash truthful reporting on someone, right? That's why I
Yeah.
like Twitter.
And then also they're allowed to spread
Oh yeah.
misinformation about me
Yep.
and nobody takes it down,
And
but
other housewives, right?
it's crazy. But
It's
whatever.
wild. Reddit like is it's good in that it gets info out there as long as like the moderators are fair,
Neutral.
which is
Yeah.
a more difficult task. But
It
it's
is.
wild how quickly the downvotes happen anytime like there's a even tepidly negative comment about Bronwyn. It's like within 5 minutes, it's downvoted to oblivion on Reddit.
I know. I
Again, this
find
suppresses.
that
It's like
so crazy.
it's a thing a lot of people have commented on.
Yeah, and that's the thing that bothers me is like we can see it. You and I, we're on
Yep.
Twitter. We know how Twitter works and everything. We can see when there is activity that is outside of the norm. And I
Correct.
saw that on Twitter as soon as, even before season 5 started. She started doing stuff online to like hype herself up before the show even aired. And it
Remember
was
when she was
weird.
like, "Teachers, send me your Amazon classroom lists. I want to get you stocked for the coming." It's a lovely thing to do if it's organic,
Of
right? But it's a
course.
weird thing to do to strangers before you've joined a reality show, right?
Yes, I agree.
Maybe
And it
pay the
feels very
zoo before you're
performative.
buying pencils and erasers for like strangers, you know?
Yeah, why isn't she just handling one
Correct.
charitable donation at a time? Why is she all over the place?
Yeah,
It's weird.
it is weird.
And also, the way that she responded. So, the whole thing between Bronwyn and I happened because I was tweeting the way that I do all the time. I live tweet my reactions when I'm watching them, and it was the after show that she was so upset about. But I couldn't believe that she was watching all my tweets. She doesn't
Mhm.
even follow me or anything like that. I saw that she started looking at all my Instagram stories, and then
Did you
then
screenshot that?
yeah,
That's
I
good.
think I do. I think I have it. But then also, she did send me a message, and I
That's a
remember
weird message. Yeah.
it was so weird. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense to what I've been saying. Like, she's just
And
speaking
just the tone of it
nonsense.
was like, get the apology read. Like, who
Yeah,
don't talk to people like that?
exactly. I'm like, for what? What? Why am I going to apologize to you? She needs to apologize to me right now. But I just thought, like, how can anyone see how the sequence of events played out and be like, oh yeah, that's a normal person
Right.
who's like, I almost feel like she targeted me because of my platform, and my platform is not a big account. So it's weird to me because I like why did she feel it necessary to bring this issue she has with me to Twitter? I felt like that was on purpose. That was intentional
Sure.
to try to get people to like hate on me because I already made up my mind based on what we've seen. I don't like people saying I manifested violence. Like I just didn't like that.
Right.
And I didn't like how she would talk things up about like, oh, Rihanna has the same jacket. I'm like, who cares? Like, I don't
Right.
give a crap if Rihanna has that jacket. And then she's like, oh, Rihanna's following me. So what? Like, I love Rihanna, but I'm questioning Rihanna's judgment now
Oh
because
yeah.
why?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Yeah.
So I don't know. She just, the way she moves to me is like, if you look at the facts, it's bizarre to me that anyone would look at that and be like, she's done nothing
Correct.
wrong. It's so
And like the
weird.
mountain of like pretty irrefutable data that I've
Yes.
put on Reddit and Twitter that is that lines the dates align with the various that it like it makes sense and it puts together a pretty fluid story if that makes sense. And people are like, no, this is just fake. Like, believe whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care what people do with this information. I'm not saying Bronwyn should be canceled. I'm not saying people need to do anything. Make your own judgments about Bronwyn.
Mhm.
I just think if you're going on a reality show, you are still doing sketchy stuff like with that zoo, and then you're pretending to be this like kind of kooky, like fun-loving, kindly philanthropist. It's people should see what else has been out there about you.
Yeah.
So people can do whatever
Also,
they want with that. I don't care. I actually don't mind her on the show, by the way. I think she's interesting enough. She's had an interesting enough life to be a good housewife without any of this stuff, right? So she doesn't need to bring on a $4 million necklace. I suspect she had no intention of ever purchasing. Like if you look at reports about their net worth, you're not buying something that is that percentage of your net worth, right? She didn't need to dig in on the lies about that. She didn't need to like cosplay donating to a zoo. It's I think she's like the sole architect of her own misfortune.
mhm.
And like people are coming after you, coming after me, saying like, why are you attacking? We're not attacking her. We're just telling
No.
people this is what's publicly available information or our personal experiences with her.
Yeah. And like we're the bad people
Yep, we're
because
horrible, horrible people.
because we're just saying what has already been said
Have
and
you
nobody's
been
paying
charged with
attention.
grand, Jenny, have you been charged with grand theft,
No, never.
identity theft,
Never.
wrongful appropriation?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I
I
still
didn't
want to
either. I
look
had to
that
look it
up.
up. Absolutely. So, like, you know,
And
stuff.
if I did, I certainly would not go on a reality
Correct.
show. But if
Correct.
I did, let's say I needed the money and I was like, okay, I have to go on this reality show,
Yep.
even though I have this criminal history, I would address it straight
Yep.
on. I
Yep.
wouldn't try to hide it and be like, oh, but that didn't happen. Like, no,
Even on
that,
the when she went on the Vile Files, I rewatched that after like all of this spin started happening. When she talks about her time in college at BYU and getting kicked out of BYU, she's like, "Oh, I was a wild child back then. I had like all sorts of parking tickets, so it wasn't just the pregnancy thing." She forgot to mention the forgery charge, and I don't know if she was still in college at that time, but like the wrongful appropriation Class C misdemeanor that she received for that. I'm sure the honor council at BYU would get wind of that. And this was, I believe, before she got pregnant with Gwen. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was before she got pregnant with Gwen. So, like, she's willing to say she got a lot of parking tickets and had alcohol in her refrigerator at BYU, and that's what, like, that in the pregnancy is why she got kicked out, but not willing to acknowledge, an arrest for forgery or wrongful appropriation charges were for which she was found to be guilty. So it's a concerted effort to I shouldn't say covers,
she's
to
selective.
obfuscate, I'll say. Yes, correct.
She's very
She's
selective in
selective
what
with
she
her truths.
shares.
Yes,
Yeah. And I think that's intentional to
I agree
craft
with you.
an image that she
Yep,
wants to portray.
yep.
And I understand that people do that, but
But
like,
don't be surprised then when it doesn't work, right? That's
exactly.
the whole
Like,
point.
yeah, Yeah, and it's wild to me to be like, for her to get so upset and attack people
Yep.
because we're just pointing out the truth.
Or to do so through, I suspect, surrogates, right? So,
Yes.
she has some surrogates that do a lot of her fixing or attempted fixing,
Speaking of
which,
surrogates, can
yeah,
I ask you real quick? I don't mean
sure.
to interrupt you, but I don't want to lose this thought. Do you remember at the reunion, Brittany was like, you had people sit down with my daughters and tell them that I was jealous of them? Do you remember that?
I remember that. I didn't put much stock into it because I find Brittany very, I, I don't,
I know
I
she's a
don't know
little
that she's
wacky.
functioning on all cylinders. You know what I mean? So like most of what she says just kind of like goes over my head. But yes, I remember that happening.
I
Yeah,
think there's more to that, that hopefully we find out in season 6, because I feel like that's something that
could see
Bronwyn
it.
would do.
Yep.
But then if you do anything, if you even think of doing something like that to
Like telling the truth
Bronwyn,
about her. Yeah.
yeah, then
Yeah.
it's like, oh my God, you're so awful.
Yeah.
And I was rewatching some episodes from season 5. I'm like, the way she moved with Lisa Barlow was so weird. Like she attacked Brittany, like saying, "Oh, are you really excited that your daughter spent the night, or are you just happy to say it to all of us or whatever?" That is an attack on Brittany. And then when Brittany's like, "You're a bitch" or whatever, she's like, "Lisa, you're not going to say anything." Like,
It
why
was
would
weird.
Lisa say
Yeah. I
something?
mean,
That
it
is
was odd.
so crazy to me.
It was odd. There was a
There's
lot
just so
odd
many things.
there.
If anyone's watching this show, there's so many things you could point out that are odd behavior.
I think the whole thing with
Bronwyn.
the alleged infidelity stuff
Oh,
also was, you know,
that was so
it
strange.
was odd.
And
Yeah.
I feel bad for Todd for that. She painted him out to be an
Oh yeah.
adulterer.
I
And
think
then
he
she tried to like walk it back on Watch What Happens Live. And she made sure that Todd never watched that episode.
I generally think Todd is the more uh I don't mind
You
Todd,
think
I'll put
he's
it that way.
more, well,
I,
I don't think Todd is a bad person.
yeah, I think
I
he deals
do,
with a lot.
yeah, I think he like is just like, oh, I got
It
this
has to be
wife.
exhausting, right? It has to be
Yeah,
exhausting.
no, for sure. I feel like he's like, oh my
Ugh,
God, I have this wife I'm
a
stuck with.
mess.
I didn't know she was the
Yeah,
alleged criminal. I didn't know all this stuff. And I do think he really does care about Gwen, which I
yeah,
find to be very
sure,
admirable. And so I think a lot of it is like he's accepted his fate, like
sure.
he's stuck with Bronwyn. But I wonder if he knows that she does stuff like this and it's just like, I can't do anything about it. Or if he knew the truth, if he would be like, oh my God, like this is
Right,
disturbing and I need to get out of this. Like I
right.
really don't know where Todd is in that, like on that scale.
Be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But I don't think he's like the villain. Like I think he was
No,
depicted. I would have never looked into the zoo thing had it not been for the
necklace.
necklace lie.
I know. She does this to herself.
She
And
does
the
it.
whole thing with
Yep.
bringing Gwen in as a storyline, to
Ugh.
me personally, I think that's
If you
disgusting
don't
to
want it
use your
on the show,
children.
don't bring it up on the show. And then for her to like do the
Absolutely.
fake crying thing with Lisa, come on.
She definitely 100% chose to bring this onto the show.
Yep.
And anyone who denies that has is lacking in basic comprehension skills because there is no way, like no one would force her to bring this on. And if I was Bronwyn, if I knew that my daughter was off limits and I still chose to go on a show, you better believe I'm gonna fight like Mama Bear and be like, hell no, this is not going on the
Right.
show, period. If you keep insisting, then I'm walking. Like, I don't care how much money you give me. And so for her to be like, oh my God, I'm trying to protect Gwen. No, no, you're not.
It's one of
That's
these things where
false.
just like with everything else, like she puts stuff out there and expects the uh it to go a certain way. And if it doesn't go a certain way, she freaks out, right? So like don't put
Yes.
stuff out there if you feel like you need to fully control the narrative because once it's out there, it's out there. And it's
Yeah.
not yours solely to control, even if you feel bad about something.
Yeah, which is why I cannot believe anyone ever signs up for a reality show. Like, I'm okay doing podcasting and things like that because I control all of this content. I am never going to give my likeness to somebody else to own. That's
But
just,
but also you don't lie pathologically, right? So I think you'd
yeah,
probably
I would
do
never do
fine on
that.
it because like you'd own stuff that is to be owned and you'd push back on stuff that you don't need to own. You know what I mean? That's a simple
Yeah.
formula for success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and that's the thing. Like when I started Bravo and Blaze, my whole thing was I want to be as authentic as possible. I'm not trying to like pull anything on anyone. Like that's why I do show my face because I
Yep.
have nothing to hide.
Yep.
And I value integrity. My integrity is more important than any reality show
Yep.
or any podcast or any Twitter or Reddit or any of that crap. So yeah, I'm going to stick up for my integrity. And in this case with Bronwyn, she fabricated things about me that her minions went and ran with. And I'm seeing and hearing all these different conspiracies about me. I'm like, oh my God, the fake me, this pretend me sounds way cooler than the real me.
She's gonna call you, how did she mispronounce nefarious, right?
Oh my
When she
God.
like, come on.
I was
Don't
like
use words you don't know how to pronounce.
at the reunion too. That
Or that
was
was on
so
the
embarrassing.
finale episode. Finale
Oh, was
episode.
it? I thought
Yeah.
she said it on the
Yeah.
couch.
But she does it all the
Nefarious.
time. I mean, like, yeah, it's part of a,
Dastardly.
yeah, yeah, very
She,
dastardly.
I think she believes that if she will throw out a big word
Hmm.
here and there, people believe that she's smart.
Yep. I think she's probably higher than average IQ. I think she's quick on her feet.
Yeah,
I'm
possibly.
not
I
saying
mean,
she's not smart, but she's
you
like,
have to be to keep up with all those
yeah,
lies.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh my gosh. So, what do you think about as far as like Bravo's awareness of this? Because there has been a blind item that came out that said Bravo is annoyed with this mountain housewife because she's always lying or something like that.
And then did you see the one on Crazy Days and Nights from March 19th, which was a certain mountain housewife has a long and storied criminal history that she hasn't chosen to
Yes.
reveal.
I thought that
So
was because of your posts
I
that
had
that
not,
came out.
I did not reach out to ENT lawyer or whatever his name is, the guy on that site. I had not contacted them.
Oh, okay.
So apparently it's, I don't know if he scans Reddit or something like that, but like I stand by my reporting.
Yeah. And I know that you value integrity the same
Yep.
way as me. That's why, like, whenever you were posting anything with receipts, I'm like, repost right away because I know that you're not going to post anything that's not real.
And I have a pretty good track record with this stuff, right? Like I picked up
Yeah.
on something being amiss with Jen Shaw and Stewart like a year before anything was known publicly about it. I picked up on Jenny Rittenhouse Nguyen being like a pathological racist before other people did. And I correctly predicted that Monica was Reality Von Teese a month before that reunion.
You did?
Yeah, or a month before the finale. Yeah, I
Wait, how
posted
did
about
you
it.
predict that?
Because I put some things together because she had posted about how she has been watching me for a long time. And I used to talk on Twitter with Reality Von Teese like before she was on the show. So like I remember exactly where I was when it snapped into my mind that she was probably Reality Von Teese. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have a
That
pretty, I pick up on things pretty easily
no, that freaks me out because I interacted with Reality Von Teese before Monica even went on the show.
before it was a
And
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I was so scared of that account. I'm like, why is this account so scary? It was the first account ever that I restricted on Instagram because I'm like, I
Oh,
don't
I
know what
liked
to
that
do.
account overall, at least on Twitter.
I mean, I don't know. They were just like, were reposting like my interview with Murillo.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, I'm scared of them because they showed that they showed my thumbnail from Reality Von
Uh-huh.
Teese's DMs on the season 4 finale
Oh,
when
that's
Heather was
funny.
like, receipts,
That's
proof,
funny.
timeline. And I was just sitting there like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my
it,
gosh.
it's been an interesting show.
What do you think happens next, both on the show and behind the scenes? And let's not forget they're filming right now.
I don't know. I don't know. And like that's I don't particularly care. You know what I mean? Like if it comes up on the show, it comes up on the show. I know people have been like adding like housewives in the replies when I post stuff on Twitter. So I suspect it's probably on their radar, whether or not it's something that like goes into the season. I don't air. Like the timing of this, the Gorilla Gate thing happened right after the reunion, just because like that's when the necklace thing came out. And so it's been this evolving thing, one thing after the other. It just happens to be that they film pretty quickly after they stop filming. So like it's coincidental that this is all coming up during filming, but like it's coming up, so they can do whatever they want with it. But it'll be interesting just because I think she's gonna, with the necklace thing, I think changed some stuff for her. So I think she's gonna probably have a
Spiral?
more, if the blind items are true, I think she's probably gonna have a tough season. That first one was like a couple of months ago, right? About producers being fed up with her.
Yeah. I
I'll
think they
say.
were fed up with her after she made them take down that footage from the after show because
Oh, it was
and
taken down. I didn't know that.
yeah, okay, so this is what happened. It was the night before Halloween, I think. Um, Salt Lake City aired, and then the after show they put on YouTube immediately after the show is airing. So I didn't even watch it that night. I took my kids to school. It was Halloween. I'm like, oh my God, I have so many things to do. But then after I dropped them off, I was like, okay, I'll just do this quick after show. It'll be like a relaxing break or whatever. But then right away in the first like 5 minutes, that was when all this stuff about Bronwyn and Gwen started coming out where Lisa was saying like this is what the parents heard and I'm like in complete shock as I'm watching this live tweeting and then in a couple hours the footage was taken down and replaced with
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
and then I'm like oh my god she do this or like I was so confused. I found out she admitted it at the reunion I think but she did have Bravo take that out. But then I don't know if she knew that they were going to put it back into the after
Right.
show because they did do that after the reunion on the last after show episode.
Don't go on a reality show if you're not prepared to deal with narratives that you don't fully control, that you put out there.
Agreed. Is there anything else you want to talk about here before we go?
I would just say, like, I'm not out to get Bronwyn. I'm not out to get anyone, but like, this is a situation of her own creation where the fact that she is incapable of acknowledging truths, it keeps snowballing on her. And I hope it's something that she does learn from. I hope she can grow from this. And it's got to be a difficult experience to be on a reality television show where you're under a microscope. But that's, again, what she signed up for. And I hope she gets something out of that and is able to like take full account for her life, her decisions in life, and just be a sincere person without all the pretense and, this manufactured persona, which is, in my opinion, not genuine. So,
No,
yeah,
not at
but I
all.
don't have anything against I don't have anything against her, to be honest.
If
I just
she
don't like liars.
if she actually learned from this and evolved, I
Great.
could become a stan. I could.
I would not stand. I would not stand. But but again, like I don't care if she's on the like I'm not trying to do anything to her. She's good on the
No,
show.
same. I think she's fine
Yeah,
on the show. I just like I feel like people who go
she's
on
pulling the wool
reality,
over people's eyes. Yeah,
yeah, and I just don't like that. And I wish that I almost feel like if you're gonna put yourself on a reality show, get as much good out of it as possible. Don't use it as a tool to do
yep.
manipulative things.
And if you're
Like
going to be
grow from
charitable,
it.
be charitable. Pay the
Yeah,
charities that you've gotten good press from, before you're called out by me. Like it's a rich thing to be like, oh, I forgot to pay you. You posted about it in October after the zoo named you in the spring, using that nebulous legalese language. That's gross. That's someone who, in
that
my
is
opinion, knows
gross.
exactly what she's doing. And she tagged the zoo.
That's like
It's it's
that's trolling.
it's something. It's something. And
Oh
then
my
she's kept,
God.
the other thing that really like part of why I've kept looking into things, she likes to poke. So she kept poking about the gorilla, posting about the gorilla, I should say. Like up until a couple weeks ago, she was posting about it on Instagram. Oh, like the zoo sent me this video of my baby Otto. Like, give it a rest. You were caught. Leave it alone. Like she can't. She has to control the narrative. So sometimes you don't get to Bronwyn.
Yeah, she clearly doesn't know or hasn't learned that yet.
I wish her well, though.
I do too, and I hope that anyone listening understands that we're not trying to attack anyone. It's about protecting ourselves, really, because we've been attacked.
And also protecting like some like people she works with on this show should know with whom they're dealing. The charities she involves herself or organizations with she involves herself with should also be aware of the kind of stuff that she does, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think, you can really get bamboozled by charming people who depict themselves one way, and it's got to be a frustrating experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like having PTSD of when I've been
Like, would
bamboozled
you
by
want to
people.
like, would you be inviting someone into your house who like stiffs nonprofits until I should say stiffed one nonprofit until called out by yours truly, who had like criminal charges for felony charges for grand theft and identity theft this
No,
decade?
no.
That kind of stuff, I think it's relevant to understanding the full story of someone, and I'd want to know. So
Yeah.
I hope,
Yeah, I would
people
want to
take
know
proper
too.
precautions. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you and I demonstrate or have demonstrated that we value taking accountability
Yep.
and just being informed of the
Yep.
facts. And people can choose whatever they want to think based on the facts, but let's not get the facts twisted.
Right. Agree.
All right. Thank you, the Bravo Derm, so much for bringing your Bravo brain and your Twitter receipts to this wild conversation. You truly are the real housewife of research and documentation, and we stand.
Thank you.
Please let everyone know where they can keep up with your investigative work.
Yeah, I'm mainly on Twitter. So it's at the Bravo Derm on Twitter. Reddit, like I only joined Reddit because I was pulled onto it because someone else posted my gorilla tweet and people assumed it was I that posted it, the initial one. So I didn't. So, but that like got me onto Reddit. And so I'll probably be in and out of Reddit, but mainly Twitter.
All right, fam, that's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this mess, make sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this with your fellow Bravo sleuths. Until next time, stay lit, y'all.